We can cut that out, right? Hello, gardening fans, and welcome to June. Now, if you have tuned in before, you know that when I talk about the month of June, I'm talking about the month where the garden that you've thought about, planned about, planted, cared for, and coaxed into being is now actually turning into what looks like a real live garden. And that's what we have going on around here. So without further ado, there's chives where we normally start. Now you can see that in May these blooms were bright purple and blooming. Now they are past their prime. Inside there are the makings of little black chive seeds. I don't know if you might be able to see those in there. There's some right on my finger there. I imagine if you plant those, you could get some chives. But here, let me show you what not to do with radishes. Okay? Well, what not to do with radishes, unless you're trying to grow radish seeds, I guess, because these are radishes that have gone to seed. And that's what it's called when they shoot up like that. And although there's a radish there, it's really tough. It's not edible. So that's called forgetting to harvest your radishes, I guess. I don't know. Here we got a very sparse row of carrots. Now we have a few that are coming up, very few and far between. These were pelleted seeds. The end of this row, if we move these radishes out of the way, is a little bit better. But the germination was very spotty on them. So, and I think I've had that happen with pelleted seeds before. But so maybe I'll plant some more. This, on the other hand, is a row of beets, and they're starting to take hold pretty good. In fact, you can probably see down in there, there's a beet in there. Those are Touchstone Gold, my favorite. And behind that is a row of Swiss chard at various states of growth, all pretty small. And right behind that is an earlier planted row of Swiss chard, and it's a variety. It's a white and yellow and red, and we have been harvesting those. I've just been cutting them off leaf by leaf and putting them in a salad or stir fry. And I hadn't had Swiss chard before. It's got an earthy flavor to it, kind of like beets, reminiscent of beets. It tastes pretty good. This is a row of spinach, and this spinach has gone to seed, and the rest of the spinach that hasn't gone to seed is just sickly. I don't know what happened to this row. It just decided we're not doing anything. And beyond that, I've got a leftover row of brassicas, meaning I've got cabbage, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, and broccoli, and that one even had a little head on it, that were leftover seedlings that I planted in this vacant row. That brings us to pole beans, which are coming along okay, getting chewed up a little bit, but you can see they're also blooming, which means some sort of beans won't be too far behind. And some of them are doing better than others, but they're all climbing up the trellises, so that's a good thing. And here are our sweet potatoes. And as you recall, the sweet potatoes are planted not only under this mulch, but also this wire protection. And we won't know if that works until the very end of the season, when we see if we get sweet potatoes that have not been marauded by lousy stinking rodents. Or, you know, nice rodents that have gone bad. I don't know. This is the Brussels sprouts proper, brassicas proper, I should say. This is Brussels sprouts, and they are looking pretty good for this early in the season. It takes a while for them to come in. Broccoli, we've already harvested the main heads off of them and some secondary heads. All these are side shoots that are coming in now, and they look good. This is storage number 4, the most creatively named cabbage, but you know what? It does store very well, so I guess that's it's appropriate that it's named that. And then over here, oh, look at this beauty. I had not seen this before. Isn't that something? That's a cheddar variety of cauliflower. That's just a gorgeous one. That'll be ready to go in another day or two. We already picked one. Didn't look as that pretty though. Next, and we're only into bed 2, this monstrosity is scallop summer squash. And get down in there, you can see what the scallop squash look like. We've had several of those come in. This one, I probably should have spaced these out a little further in between plants because they're sort of taken over each other. In fact, that's a yellow squash there, but it's kind of planted itself over in the zucchini area because that's a zucchini right there. So in the middle row here is zucchini and yellow squash over here, and we are harvesting quite a few of those already this year, stir frying them up, and they taste good, of course. And then beyond that, we have another row of spinach that's doing a little bit better. These are also getting ready to go to seed, so need to snip those leaves off and take care of them. And then we have peas. These are snap peas, and got a nice couple of servings of them last night, and more coming in. And right next to them are pea pods. And of course the difference between snap peas and pea pods are the pods stay pretty much flat, and the snap peas swell up and snap when you snap them, if you know what I mean. These guys look like I'm about ready to pull some of them. They're looking pretty good. The end of this row finally is kind of tired looking row of lettuce. We have pulled a few of those. This problem I always have with lettuce is that it all comes in at once, and I never succession plant it, and so I struggle to keep up with it. Look at these onions, however, very nice. This is what we like to see this time of year. It's got 3 varieties there. Patterson, which is new for me, Candy, which is one of my favorites, and this one is called Red something. I can't remember what it is. There it is, Red Wing. Thought I'd try that for this year. And if you look down here closely, you can see that sure enough there's an onion bulbing up there nicely. And traditionally next to the onions we have potatoes, and the potatoes are also doing well. I hilled them up twice. Now got a hay mulch down on them, and wherever you see evidence of blooms, that means in a couple weeks there might be a potato or 2 down below worth stealing, new ones. But generally I usually don't cheat. I usually let them go all the way. So anyway, they're they're a good 3 feet high and doing very nicely. Leeks this year are doing much better since we haven't crowded them out with loofah gourds, so I'm taking a little better care of those guys. They're next door to a row of eggplant, which if you look closely, you can see one of those purple blooms there. Haven't started to show fruit yet, really, but the eggplant have started to show fruit, as evidenced by those guys right there. And in the next row, these guys right here. And in the next row, those right there. And I should be, of course, spouting off the names of the varieties, but I can't quite remember, so that's the way it goes. Anyway, on to tomatoes. And again, I'm not going to be able to come up with the varieties of most of these, but I think that might be a New Girl right there. And we've got a lot of them coming in, as you can see, a little bigger than golf ball size. And then, of course, the Sky Manor favorite, whoops, get out of the way, leaf, Juliet, which are just wonderful. And we grow every year without fail. At least we have for, I don't know, 10, 15, 20 years. I don't know how long it's been. It's been a long time. And this name I'm not going to be able to come up with, but it's a larger variety of tomato. And finally, on the other end, of the tomatoes is a cherry tomato. I can't remember the variety, of course, but look at that nice pattern of cherry tomatoes coming in. So we might see those before we see anything else. Who knows? But as you can see, we've got the tomato cages all up and everything, so that's good. And what else is good is that okra pod right there. And right behind it is an okra bloom. They only open during the day, and we're kind of into the evening here now, so don't see those very often in the garden videos. But they're doing okay. There's another pod there. Already had a couple of them, and they're good sliced up in salad or stir fried. These are loofah gourds, and they're from seeds from the ones that we harvested last year. And that's the only reason they're planted here, is because I had the seeds, and I said okay, because I wasn't going to plan on doing any pumpkins or winter squash of any sort, but since I did have some seeds, inclusive of these seeds, or seedlings, which are from seeds of a Dill's Atlantic giant that aborted on us last year, but at least gave us some seeds. I've got 3 of these plants going, and really the truth is that they're tough to grow. I struggle with them a lot. So since I had some seedlings, letting them grow, but if something happens, great. If not, that's the way it goes. Now Franklin is just emerging from our other sort of unique bed this season, and that's a complete bed of nothing but sunflowers, and that one's starting to bud up pretty nicely. No digging there, boy, please, Franklin. Thank you, boy. Good boy. This will be fun if they all get to blooming at around the same size, or same time. 4 per row, and I don't know how many rows there are, who knows. But I just thought, oh, that would be kind of fun to grow a whole bed full of sunflowers, and they'll probably just stay here and the birds will eat them, but that's okay. And out there, should we go out there? I don't think we need to. I'll just sort of zoom in a little bit. Is the external corn bed, which is the only place we're growing corn this year. And we're growing 2 varieties. The nearest ones to us are robust popcorn, and that's a smaller plant. But the farther ones are the favorite sweet corn of Sky Manor, and that's Silver Queen. And you probably can't tell from here, but some of those guys are pretty close to 5 feet tall. So knee-high by the 4th of July, we're way ahead of that. And they're looking good. We got our fencing up, although we had some brave deer nibbling at the perimeter rows. It's kind of pissed me off. So I guess that solar-powered zapper isn't quite zappy enough to thwart them completely, but I think it'll keep them out, and we'll be okay. And is there anything else to show you? I will tell you, fruit trees, we're going to get next to no apples whatsoever, with the exception of crab apples, and there's only some trees out there in the back that are going to give us crab apples, but there should be enough to at least do some crab apple jelly. And the other thing that's looking promising is our little pear tree, which is now enclosed in the backyard. Lots of pears on it, so if they can manage to hold on, we should have a pretty good pear season. Planted a peach tree and a nectarine tree this year, but they're brand new. There's no fruit on them. I didn't expect to have any fruit on them, but maybe next year. And other than that, that's just about it. Here, let me show you this. We're going to have no shortage of tomatoes this year, because all the leftover seedlings I decided to plant here in my so-called no man's land, which is not an official row even, but they seem to be quite comfortable here, and so if I can manage to keep them staked and fed, we'll probably get quite a few tomatoes out of there. And of course the old pet memorial area with our little memorial dachshund sleeping soundly and comfortably enjoying the garden. He seems to enjoy the garden regardless of the weather or the time of year or anything else. Okay, so that does it. This is June 2016, Marvin Gardens, and that's about it. Garden looks great. Vanina just goes gangbusters in here, keeping it weeded and trimmed and groomed, and she's a great help. And she seems to enjoy the vegetables too, so that's a good thing. All right, so that's going to do it for us. June 2016, Marvin Gardens. We will see you in July. And if you know me, you know that we call July the beginning of the high holy days of gardening. And the way things are shaping up, there's a good chance that we'll have that. So we'll see you then in July. This is Marvin Gardens, June 2013. Bye, y'all.